Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here. Appreciate it. Last night around 7 p.m., officers responded to a possible abuse at an apartment on Ani Ani Street in Waipahu. The first arriving officer spoke with a 23-year-old male and a female in the apartment, and they described that, yes, they had an argument. The female only asked that the male be removed from the residence, at which time the male did leave the residence and walked out to Ani Ani Street. The two responding officers were returning back to their vehicles after several minutes of talking with the individuals in the apartment when they saw a second female, who also from the apartment, follow the 23-year-old male that was initially asked to leave the apartment and argue with him and appeared to strike him with what looked like a walking stick. Shortly thereafter, the officers were now heading back towards this incident with the female and the walking stick and the 23-year-old male who was the suspect in the original argument case. As the officers were walking back, another male, 18-year-old male, came out from the driveway and the structure area onto the street between the female with the walking stick, a vehicle, and the victim, who was the 23-year-old male. This 18-year-old male had a machete. He was swinging at the 23-year-old male, who was now backing away. One officer drew their taser. The second officer drew their firearm. And after several commands to the individual to drop the machete to stop his actions, he continued. They made separation between the female with a walking stick towards the middle of the street. The victim kept backing away. The suspect with the machete continued to slash at the male, at which time the officers were still commanding the gentleman to drop the machete. He did not. The officer fired one round and hit the male in the torso. He dropped to the ground immediately. He was disarmed at that point, and medical attention was provided to him. The individual who was the victim of the machete slashing, which is an attempted murder case, had injuries to his arm. He is now in custody for abuse of household member incident. That was the original call. And the suspect who was shot in the torso has been arrested for attempted murder, and he is currently incarcerated at that point and time. The officers have 10 and 16 years respectively in the department. They are from the District 3 or Pearl City area. And this is, of course, there's an administrative investigation into the critical incident protocol that we have as standard policy. And that will we've also offered administrative leave to the two officers that were involved. And at that time, I'll take any questions you may have.
So
Sir.
could you give us the condition of the victim, or not victim, but the person that was shot in the torso? What is his current condition?
His current condition, he's currently in the cell block as we speak. He's been released from the hospital with a gunshot wound in the torso. So it's not a critical incident, but it's still, he's under doctor's care, but right now he's in custody. He's been released from the hospital.
Are these family members?
Yes, they are.
So the 18-year-old and the woman with the
The
walking
23-year-old is not the family member. He is I don't know if he's related to, he claims that was his wife. I don't know if they're girlfriend, boyfriend, or married, but he is not an immediate family member. He's by marriage or a boyfriend of the rest were all family members. So the female with a walking stick, the suspect with the machete are all family members, along with the female victim in the original abuse case. Does that make sense?
The 18-year-old did actually strike the 23-year-old with the machete, and that 20-year-old was injured through that.
Yes, he had injuries to his arms, which are consistent with defensive posture of trying to block the machete, yes.
And then the woman originally with the 23-year-old, when the initial call came in, was there any like signs of abuse or anything like that?
I don't believe so, because the officers were leaving. I think she was, I won't say uncooperative, but less than forthcoming with information. She just wanted the individual to leave. And I don't believe they saw original signs. I think later on during the full investigation, after the officer-involved shooting, the full truth came out.
Were there any prior reports in that area regarding this group of people where you had police officers respond to the scene in the past?
My understanding is there has been numerous calls over the period of time for that area and maybe that specific apartment. As to what exactly those are, I don't have that information yet.
Do you have the ages of the female?
I-
We can get that.
Yeah, we can get that. I don't know if it's the same age as the 23-year-old male.
Chief, what about any officers? Can you tell us what type of injuries they sustained, if there was any?
So both officers were not injured in this incident. One officer who fired or discharged their firearm is a crisis intervention trained officer. The other officer who drew their taser was not crisis intervention trained. You may ask, why didn't he get a chance to fire the taser first instead of the firearm? There was not time. It was a matter of seconds between the time the male appeared with the machete, attacked the individual. The officers had seconds to react before grave danger was to the victim of the machete attack.
Chief, were body cameras activated?
Yes.
And approximately how close was the officer who fired the shot to the man who was shot?
I think within 10 feet, but I'm not sure. We'll be able to figure that out through the investigation. Might be a little farther.
Is that standard procedure where to aim where they shot in the torso?
Center mass, aimed to stop the individual from the activity they're engaged in, which was swinging a machete at an individual, yes.
Would this be classified as like a case of domestic abuse?
The initial part was classified as an abuse of household member or domestic abuse, yes. Okay, with that, I would like to provide a little update on District 8, if I may. As we continue, over the weekend, there were several events in the Waianae-Nanakuli area. One, there was a football game between Waianae and Nanakuli. There was also a food truck event that happened, and then there was a concert at a charter school, all in the Waianae-Nanakuli area. We had multiple agencies out there. There was the Department of Land Natural Resources, their DoCare officers were there. We had Department of Law Enforcement were out there helping at the schools and other events, as well as our patrol officers. We were over 100% or at 100% staffing for all the patrol beats that are Nanakuli, Waianae, and Maile area. We also had additional resources such as reserve officers and plainclothes officers that were in and around the area to maintain peace. And so the mission still continues to be there for HPD to support District 8 as we try to reduce the violent crime in that area and to reestablish the safety and security of what the residents there would like in their community, so we continue to do that.
So Chief, overall, despite what you described, would you say it was mission success that you were able to have this enforcement of officers there? So we really didn't hear anything bad come out of Waianae this past weekend, so if you could assess that, then that definitely had a difference or made a difference.
No, great question, and I was smiling because, you know, officers are superstitious. We don't like to talk about certain things because when we say something, then something happens. And so we have to be very careful. But yes, in this instance, with the saturation of resources in the Waianae area, it was very quiet, knock on wood, that it was peaceful, and I believe people felt safe at the football game, at the concert, and then those that partaked in the food truck event that also happened.
Yet your call probably to the public is to remain vigilant, to watch yourselves, watch your neighbors. Would that be something that you would continue to perpetuate with the public in general?
No, absolutely. I think the community is heavily engaged and involved in all of this. They want to succeed. They want their safe and secure Waianae-Nanakuli Maile area, that west side. And so they're participating with us to help us engage, identify criminal activity if we can, eradicate or eliminate or reduce that criminal activity, and then they feel that safe environment. So we continue to work together. This is not just HPD. This is a whole of community event. This is a whole of government event. That's other agencies and the resources are out there also.
Chief, with the 100% staffing, does that include reserve officers?
That would be in addition to, the reserve would be in addition to.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. There, we have an update on smash and grab. Major Lynch.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brian Lynch. I'm with the Chief's Office. I'm here to give you a brief update on our smash and grab operations. As you all know, on October 17th, 2024, at around 22:49 hours, District 2, which is Wahiawa side, received multiple alarms from multiple businesses almost all at once. Witnesses saw 4 to 5 males breaking into businesses, and they fled in a white Mazda SUV. Roughly about 10 minutes later, District 3, which is right next to District 2, patrol sees the suspect vehicle in the Waipio area matching description of the same vehicle in a store parking lot next to Dave's Ice Cream. The vehicle then flees. District 3 was able to follow the vehicle where it went into Foster Village. Once it was in Foster Village, somehow the vehicle had a breakdown or something, and all of the occupants of the car ran on foot outside of the vehicle. So 4 suspects ran. They were all attired in dark clothes with masks and gloves and stuff. We did have video surveillance footage of these individuals, so that's how we knew that we were on the right track with these folks, right? So we were able to locate all 4 males. They were in different areas of the neighborhood. The crew units came to the area, set up a perimeter, and methodically searched through backyards and parks and stuff, and we were able to locate the suspects. The suspects are 1 adult male who's 22 years old, and their other 3 males were juveniles, 15, 16, and 16. All of the males have been charged for burglary second, is what the official title of smash and grab is, burglary second. They are still in court as we speak, and the adult male, again, $500,000 was his bail. A common theme to remember, as we spoke about on our last smash and grab conversation, was that businesses need to have alarms that work and need to have surveillance systems that work. In this case, that worked to our advantage because the alarms did work. Once they all started going off, that alerted us and our assets to where these guys were doing business, and we were able to close in on them and then eventually catch them. Additionally, they had video systems that worked and caught a lot of the footage of these guys doing business, and so that assisted us in identifying who these males were that were committing the crimes. So again, registers seems to be the hot topic for these gangs. They go in and they steal the registers. Again, if you have a register, don't leave it closed on the counter. Leave the drawer open, take the drawer out, or even turn it upside down on the counter. So when you're looking through the window in the store, right, you can see that there's no money in the register. One particular store had a tip jar. All their tips were in it on the counter, visible through the window. So all you're doing is inviting, these guys to come in and do business. So remind yourselves that at night when you're closing up shop that you do these types of things to make it harder for these guys to do business. With that, I'm happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Well, Major, is what the group that you arrested, do you believe there is a connection to a bigger group or it's just kind of isolated to itself?
I believe there's more than just one group. This was, we believe, one of the main groups, if we can say that, although, there's people copycatters and stuff. So I don't think you could say it's any individual 1, 2, or 3 groups, but this is definitely, on that night in question, they hit like 8 places all at once. So, these guys were like full on a spree. They weren't worried about it being caught or worried about anything. They're just out to do business. And so, are they a main group? I would say probably. Doesn't mean that there may not be more out there. So, we always have to be on guard, ready to, respond with any of this type of action.
Did all of the businesses that were hit have the exact same kind of register, those white?
I don't know, to tell you the truth, but, yeah, it looked like a white, typical register-looking register. It wasn't anything, out of this world. But, yeah, if you looked at it, you would say that's a cash register.
And then, any reasons why a Thai food place, an ice cream shop, a espresso, and?
Just places with glass doors on the front with registers on the counter that look like maybe they're full. Maybe if one of them had the register, as I said, and, they prepared, they wouldn't have had their store broken into. That's a key element for these folks. When they look through the glass window, they see, hey, all right, let's go, and they go after these guys.
And there wasn't a 5th? They said 4 to 5. There was just the 4, right?
4, we caught 4.
Is there one more out?
I don't know. I don't think so. Oh, maybe. Who knows?
So these guys are like career criminals, that's what they do, and, is there issue, obviously, they go in and out of the system, right?
Yes.
So, that's a big problem.
It's a
because you
huge
guys
problem.
can do what you can do, but what happens when they just get let out again?
And more so, he had 3 juveniles with him who now are the new upcoming, people in our world that we don't need those types. So, yes, it's a problem. You're right.
What changes do you want to see?
Well, we're law enforcement. We go catch the bad guys. What happens to them after that isn't necessarily our, you know, our kuleana. As a resident of this community, I would like to see people like this locked up so they can influence 3 juvenile kids to go and teach them how to do wrongdoings. And now we have a new generation of, you know, criminals coming up in the world, which we really don't need.
Was there a value amount as to how much was stolen that night?
I don't have that, I'm sorry.
Does the adult suspect face higher charges because he's influencing minors?
You would hope so. He's facing higher charges too because he's a regular, he's a return player in the system, so, yeah.
And is he related to any of the minors?
I don't think so. Anything else?
Major, are you able to address what happened at Aloha Stadium this past weekend?
You know, I'm not really in depth on that. I heard it was a jewelry tent at the, you know, at the swap meet, and some individuals came and they were masked up and stuff, and they broke in, right? So, you know, we don't live in Kansas anymore, as they say, right? So, and I don't know what security like is at the stadium, but, you know, clearly we have to be on guard. And so if you're going to be selling jewelry and stuff in a tent out in the middle of who knows where, you know, maybe we need better security there. Again, that's private property, that's the stadium, that's not necessarily HPD, right? But I do know they hire some HPD special duty for that event, but, you know, they might have to reconsider their interior security as well, right? Yeah.
Also, talking about the swap meet and Aloha Stadium, what I would ask is, the community, if you're out there shopping, and as most people do, they carry their phone in their hand. If you see somebody with, not unusual to have an umbrella on a hot sunny day, however, if you're wearing a hoodie, you've got gloves on, you're also carrying an umbrella, that's kind of a telltale sign that this individual doesn't belong here and is about to commit some type of crime, and that's what we've seen. Obviously, by the video, you saw the individuals wearing gloves, carrying the umbrella to block the camera, and to do other things. And so we would ask the public to, one, you know, help us identify these individuals, see where they are, where they came from. If you have video of these individuals on that day that this happened over this weekend, that provide that to law enforcement through our criminal investigation division. Is it the Berg theft detail that's handling, or is it CID? So it would be the District 3 the District 3 Berg theft detail. So if you call the main station at Pearl City, they would be able to get you in touch with the Berg theft detail. Those detectives would like that information, any camera video that you may have to help them solve this case. Okay, with that, thank you all, I appreciate it.